Hello friends, good evening. We are here today with our patron, Mr. Harmanprit Singh. He is a retired IPS officer, West Bengal cadre. He is currently with the Central Vigilance Commission as the independent external monitor. He has worked in several capacities in West Bengal and has retired finally as the Director General of Police, Coastal Services. So sir, my first question to you is why the civil services?
Civil services offers an individual a unique experience both in terms of diversity and public service. It's a service through which you can reach out to people. It's a service through which you can realize the potential of not only your own potential, but the potential of the citizens of the country, because you work at a cutting edge level in the society, whether as a police officer or as a civil servant. In both cases, you start with working at the cutting edge level, at a block level or a police station level, where you are in direct interface with the population, and you can make difference to thousands of lives rather than just being a wage earner for the family if you were to join, let's say, a corporate sector.
So my next question is, there are a lot of these kids who prefer to go into the MNC sector and don't know too much about the civil services. So why should today's youth look at civil services over the MNC? And how important is it for a student or the youth to be in the civil services sector?
Okay, let's see. Why do people like to join a multinational, let's say, whether a consultancy firm or a firm like Hindustan Levers, which are, why would they? The first thing is they pay you well, they are good paymasters. And the second thing is that there is an opportunity to travel, not only within the country, but travel abroad also. Civil services, it may not be known to many, now offers some of the best pay packages for those who join either the police or administration or any other service like revenue service and income tax service or customs. So it offers one of the best pay packs available to a person who is joining this service. Aside from that, the other thing which I mentioned, as a multinational, one of the charm is that you may get to travel abroad or travel within extensively India, and civil services offer this too. For instance, I worked in Bengal in police as a superintendent of police and as deputy commissioner of police in Kolkata police and as DIG and IG and as DG. But I also took time out and I worked with the United Nations as police commissioner for East Timor for a couple of years, and then I worked in the New York in the UN headquarters as a senior police officer, as an advisor to the Secretary General. So I mean, if you are willing to join civil services and serious about the job, sky is the limit. You can work here, touch lives of millions of people at the cutting edge level, and for yourself, you can realize your own ambitions in terms of working, let's say, working abroad or working alongside let's say the corporates itself. They're working alongside different nationalities and people from different professions.
Sir, you worked with the United Nations, so we would really like to know how the opportunity came your way and what was your personal experience.
Yeah, I worked for the United Nations on 3 different occasions. The first opportunity came away when the UN requested Government of India to send some officers to help conduct first elections in Mozambique. Mozambique had undergone a lot of civil war in 90s and 80s and 90s, 1980s and 90s, a long time ago. So the first election was held in 1994, and the UN had requested Indian Government of India to provide inputs in terms of experienced manpower who could help secure the elections. So we gave our names, and the team of the UN came to India and they interviewed from amongst many candidates. They selected a few, and I was one of the lucky ones to go there. Once you have served for a tenure, after that you can be on the UN roster. And when a higher responsibility, an occupation for a higher responsibility came in, The UN needed police commissioner for a new country. East Timor was formed as a new country out of Indonesia, and they needed administrative setup to be established for East Timor. So they wanted a police commissioner for East Timor in the year 2006. And again, you go through a few interviews, but having been a civil servant and a serving police officer in your own country, it gives an advantage, particularly when you have worked in a democracy and you have worked among the people. So we could get that. And one thing leads to another. Thereafter, one comes back to your own country, serve for a few years as a Deputy Inspector General and Inspector General, and then another opportunity comes your way, to go to the UN headquarters. If you have, worked with the UN at the field level, you meet the requirement to work at the headquarters. So I could work at the UN headquarters in New York for about 3 years in charge of African Division 1. So that's how it is. Once your feet are grounded in the service, civil service, any civil service you join, a lot of opportunities open for you, not just in the World Bank. There are officers from the police and civil services who work with, let's say, civil aviation sector in Montreal, those who work with the WHO, people who work with UNICEF. So there is always a requirement for trained manpower in the United Nations, and you can join UN in various capacities and come back and you keep your job. The best part is you get to keep your job at home. So you come back and do the same job again. So I finally retired from this job, but the wealth of experience you gather, even after the job, there is more. जैसे LIC की ad में कहते हैं, जीवन के साथ भी जीवन के बाद भी, तो यहाँ even in civil services, even after you have retired, you are sought after and you join some or the other sector, and you are still, you know that the wealth of experience you have gathered can bide you well in newer avenues.
So as we all are aware that there are many services within the UPSC. There's IAS, Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Service, Indian Foreign Service, Indian Railway Service. So given your years of experience, after this I am to ask you, if you had to go through it all over again, which of these services would you choose?
Well, basically you must realize that you are in a driver's seat, and all these services are like the wheels of a well-oiled machinery. Any well-oiled machinery, whether it's a truck or your own car, it requires many wheels. So these are the services, are the wheels on which the country runs. There is little point in comparing this with that. Each service has its own advantages, and each service serves the people and serves the citizens in its own way. And you will become a professional in one or the other service that you finally join. If you join police, you become a police officer. You join administrative service or income tax, you become a tax consultant. So it's a little point in comparing the services. Each service is a reward in itself, and at the end of it, you can look back with a lot of satisfaction, whichever service you may have served in.
So my next question to you is, how important do you think is proper guidance for civil service aspirants in their journey while they are preparing for civil services?
Okay, look at it this way, it's a summit to climb. Okay, it's a summit. It's like civil services, if you consider, it's a summit to climb. If somebody was to climb Mount Everest, he cannot just do it alone. He cannot just decide that one fine day I will start marching up the Mount Everest and conquer it. So it is the same thing. You need support. You need because civil service exam is a structured exam, you need support of institutions like our institution, which has a structured syllabi, which is broken down into many parts, and each part is given its own importance. And because there are lakhs of people who are appearing for it, the competition is so fierce. I'm not putting fear of competition in your mind, but saying that since there is competition, it's always good to start where being guided by somebody who has figured out the syllabus, who has figured out which are the important aspects of the syllabus, and then go around it in a structured way, which is what leads to success, whether climbing a mountain or joining the civil services.
So my next question to you would be, we've seen over the years, earlier Bengal used to have the maximum number of civil service aspirants. But over the years, it has really come down. And we've almost got negligible people who have cleared the civil services examination. So how do you think we can address that particular issue?
That's a very good question, and it has, to my mind, this has happened over time as there has been a vacuum in terms of institutes which help people, students, prepare for the civil services examination. Earlier, you see, in Bengal, there is a plethora of institutes which prepare students for medical and engineering services examination. So, naturally, when there are institutes which prepare you for medical and engineering exams, so a lot of students, parents push their children towards those disciplines. Because of this vacuum, the civil services students and the parents, they lost interest in civil services. But even as these kinds of, like IAS Shaashtra, these kinds of institutes opened up in Delhi and North India and in South India, in Bengal, there remained a vacuum. So once IAS Shaashtra, institutes like IAS Shaashtra come up, I believe there can be a sectoral shift again, as there is a huge talent in Bengal which is just flowing towards where the guidance is available. Once the guidance is available for civil services preparation, the talent will naturally flow towards this end. It's a no-brainer. It will always.
Sir, and now for my final question to you would be, what message would you have for the students of IAS Shaashtra?
I mentioned it in passing that civil services, you get more shots than 3. I think now you get 3 or 4 shots. But take every turn as your first and last turn with complete preparation, which IAS Shaashtra will help you guide it. And do extensive reading. Extensive reading is something which is very important for success in any competitive exam, which tests your awareness, which tests your comprehension, and which tests your ability to draw down the comprehension into writing an examination. So consider it like a summit to be climbed, and the preparations which go into meeting a summit to be climbed, do it at a war footing. The guidance backed by hard work is the only mantra to succeed, and IAS Shaashtra will help you in realizing your dream if it actually is as passionate as it should be.